Episode 312. Welcome back. This is Quest for You. I'm Janine. So grateful for you showing up, for these few minutes of motivation and inspiration, hopefully, for a new path in your life. I'm going to start out with a bold statement. Nobody can reject you. Yep, I said it, and I know you will disagree. So my job in this episode is to convince you, and myself, because I struggle with rejection. Big time. I know you don't believe it, and neither did I, until I started this podcast. And now that it has been over a year, I still cannot get myself to spread the word. I can pay for marketing, sure, but that is not what I want to do. I want to proudly share my podcast with others, strangers, anyone, and I can't. I simply can't. Not that I'm not able to. I've had a stack of my really cool business cards in my hand, ready to hand them out at various events I've attended. I can speak to people. I smile, I'm friendly, but when the opportunity presents itself to talk about my podcast, I cannot get myself to do it. I'm so scared. When fear stares you so bluntly in the eye, you cannot help but face it and ask why. What am I afraid of? If something significant is an obstacle to your success, you don't have a choice but to analyze yourself and figure out what is holding you back. That's what I did, and that is what I recommend you do. We often content ourselves with trite excuses, some of which we've covered last week. After you have used these excuses repeatedly, they begin to lose validity even to yourself, the excuser. For me, it almost always happens like this. I walk into an event, motivated and determined to make it happen. And I walk out with zero accomplishments. Maybe the circumstances of the event were different. Maybe the kind of people I hoped I would see were not there. Or maybe I was just too scared to deal with the circumstances that quite often turn out differently than I imagine. I realized for me it has come down to rejection. I'm afraid that they laugh, that they think I'm crazy, that they blow me off and say no thanks. No thanks sounds harmless, but it hurts. Last Sunday I reached out to my friend with whom I currently have a strained relationship, and her answer to my breakfast invite was no thanks. No thanks hurts. It's a no. Not you, not today, maybe never. You don't fit into my schedule right now. Maybe never again. No thanks leads to generalizing. Maybe nothing I do is worth anything. And after generalizing, we make it personal. Maybe I am not worth anything. We talked about this feeling of not good enough in yesterday's episode. My podcast, my friend, maybe your boss, your coworker, your spouse. People reject us. And because we are afraid of their rejection, we reject ourselves. To seek acceptance is a basic human need. This goes back to our roots as humans ages ago when it was essential to survival to live in a community or a tribe. Survival was dependent on living in a group. Being alone meant death because the dangers were too large to overcome by yourself. The threat of being rejected by the tribe was part of life then, and it was a fear everyone carried. Today, it is still a common punishment strategy used by many radical organizations or religious groups in order to get their members to follow the rules. Rejection means disconnection from a group, and that often meant and still means a loss of sense of belonging. The need to be acknowledged and accepted is innate to us. We are born with a strong need to feel connected. The rapid spread of social media popularity demonstrates this clearly. We want to be connected and fear to be rejected. This fear of rejection holds us back. It holds us back from meeting people, exploring new opportunities, making much needed changes, and living our life to our fullest potential. The fear of rejection is our greatest enemy. It makes us feel warm and cozy inside our comfort zone, and it makes everything outside appear life-threatening. We are often most scared of rejection when we have been rejected before. The fear of going through the same pain keeps us away. It makes us risk-averse. But what we often forget is that we did get through it. We did survive. We didn't die. And while we may have lost one person in the process of being rejected, we didn't get kicked out of our house, we didn't get banned from our family and friends, and we don't have to fight tigers and wolves on our own. We are still alive, and our life goes on. Rejection is not the end of life anymore like it was thousands of years ago, but yet we still live with the same fear. We still have the wiring that says rejection will kill me. That's why we have fear. It's a primal fear. We don't die of rejection anymore, but we feel like we will. We can't stop rejection. People will always reject us, even on the internet. But what we can stop is how it affects us. Rejection is based on permission. Your permission. You can't be rejected unless you agree with the statement of the person rejecting you. We get a variety of dismissals all the time. I was once in a business meeting when one of the attendees complained about all the foreigners coming into this country. I'm a foreigner, but I didn't let that statement affect me. It came from a person that wasn't important in my life. Their opinion didn't matter to me. But when a close friend tells me that men are not attracted to women who are independent and strong-willed, then this does affect me. And I wonder if that is the explanation for why I'm single. Do you see the difference? Both statements are really just opinions, but we treat them quite differently. Some we let in, others we don't. Some people have permission to hurt us, while others don't. What if we don't give anyone permission to reject us? If we don't allow rejection in, it can't hurt us. When we allow someone else to reject us, we end up rejecting ourselves. They offloaded their opinion on us. Then they leave, hands free, and we are left to deal with the mess. And the end result of this mess is often the feeling we talked about yesterday. I'm not good enough. Let me encourage you today to not allow others to decide whether you are good enough or not. Someone else's opinion is not the direction for your life. It's just an opinion. Criticism, harsh words, disrespect, and arrogance are their problem, not yours. All you need to say as a response is, "Thank you for sharing that." This indicates, I'm hearing you, but I'm not taking this personal. I'm not letting it in. If the insults come from someone close to you, you do the same. Listening to them without jumping back at them and defending yourself often helps dissipate the conflict. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that prevents unnecessary arguments. Often our loved ones don't even mean harm, but we take it as such because our ego feels attacked. Thank you for sharing that makes you rejection free. It gives you the power. You choose not to accept the opinions of others. Nobody can make you feel bad about yourself unless you let them. And you can tell the negative people from the positive ones. Happy people, people that feel good about life and about themselves, they praise others, they encourage and motivate. Unhappy people are full of self-criticism and they take it out on the world. They don't want others to be happy either, so they tear them down. And if you don't let it in, it can't hurt you. It just hurts the person who's left holding it. Thank you for sharing that. Leaves them hands full, with their negativity reflected back at them. Nobody can reject you if you don't let them. Remember that, especially when it comes to those fears you carry inside. Fear of standing in front of people and speaking. Fear of talking to people you don't know. Fear of being honest in your relationship. All these are really just a fear of rejection. When you and I decide not to let it in anymore, then it won't hold us back from pursuing our goals. So why don't we try it? I prepared this episode before I went to my conference. And my goal was to share it with people while I'm there. And if they laugh, if they say no thanks and are not interested, then my answer is, thank you for sharing that. And I move on. It won't deter me from my path or my goals. And let's also keep in mind what we talked about yesterday. The brain loves the familiar. So if we can make the unfamiliar familiar, then our brain will love it. I'm thinking of salespeople. They put themselves out there every day to get rejected. What if we do the same? What if we get out into the world and seek to be rejected every single day, on purpose? I wonder if it would get easier. Maybe it will be fun at some point to talk about my podcast with complete strangers at Starbucks or wherever. I really would love to try it. What about you? What are you going to challenge yourself with in these next days? Much love.